Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to our Anona Virtual Concert Series event. My name is Reverend Jeremy Harrington, and I'm the executive pastor here at Anona, and I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon on this special occasion. Our concert series, we've had such a great season so far over the past year there. We've had the music of Heather Sorensen, we've had a virtual Christmas cantata in December, and we had our January in Jazz event just last month, and today, probably the highlight of the concert season. Today we have the music of Mark Hayes. We were just blessed and honored to have Mark actually fly down here to Anona late last fall and was able to record him performing just a few of his inspirational classics. Just such a gifted composer, a concert artist, orchestrator, music producer. He's been in music ministry now for over 40 years and has over 1,500 published works in his name that he has shared with countless churches across the country and around the world. His music and his inspiration. I know we've just been sharing his music for years here at Anona, and especially blessed to have him here to share this with you and I today. Now we want to hear from you. We hope that things are going well and want to hear from you. So if you're joining us on our live.anona.com live stream, click on the chat if you would. There's a chat button there. You can click on that, come up with a screen name, and join the conversation. Tell us who you are, where you're from, how are things going where you are, because we'd love to hear from you and connect with you in these moments. Now, if you're joining us on our Facebook platform or our YouTube, we're going to ask if you can help us like, share, and subscribe. If you can like, share, and subscribe these, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook there, you can help us spread the word of awesome events like this and reaching so many more individuals. So we appreciate your help with that. So now, without further ado, may we please give a warm welcome to Mark Hayes.
It is my pleasure to be back here at Anona United Methodist Church. I have fond memories of my time when I was here many years ago working with the choir and performing with you, worshiping with you. It's a pleasure just to be able to share in this new way with this virtual concert. So if you're at home or wherever you are, I hope you really enjoy these next few moments. I like to use a lot of different styles in my concerts. So this next one is really kind of more up-tempo compared to what I just played. It's an old familiar song that you probably know from Sunday school days, This Little Light of Mine. So if you were here with me live, I would say, please sing along on the first and fourth verses. So I would encourage you to do that at your home, wherever you are, and just enjoy This Little Light of Mine.
Good afternoon and welcome for joining us. Thank you for being here this afternoon for our virtual concert series event. My name is Reverend Jeremy Harrington. I'm the executive pastor here at Anona, and I want to thank you for joining us with this special event and a special big and warm welcome to our guest this afternoon, Mark Hayes. He is an award-winning composer, conductor, concert pianist. He has diverse musical writing of different styles, different genres, and he is just the foremost musician and composer in our church and secular world. And so I want to first just give a warm welcome. Thank you, Mark, for joining us.
Thank you, Jeremy. Pleasure to be here.
I want to talk just a little bit about early influences in your musical life. You've been playing piano, I understand, for since your young adult years there. And tell a little bit about, in your early musical development, what were some of the musical and stylistic influences?
Well, I started when I was 10 years old, and then when I was 13, the church needed a pianist, and really bad, and I was just bad enough to get the job.
That hasn't changed much.
Yeah. And I played bassoon in high school band, and I played the bass drum in the marching band. I was in the choir. So between all of that in high school and playing the piano in church and all that, that was a big part of my life, my identity. I ended up going to Baylor University and was a piano performance major there, and just threw myself into all of that. I had a little singing group called Spirit of Love, which was 7 singers, 4 guys and 3 women. And I did the arranging for them. I was the arranger pianist, and we had a drummer and a bass player as well. And that was a very pivotal time in my life because I was listening to a lot of the contemporary Christian music that was coming out. Also, I was listening to vocal jazz. There was a composer arranger named Paul Johnson who lived in LA, and he did some a cappella settings, kind of like almost vocal jazz settings of hymns that were just amazing. And I loved that sound. I listened to some of the contemporary rock and roll artists and would listen to rhythms and got ideas for syncopation in my writing. Some of my classical influence was still, involved in my writing at that time, but that was really a pivotal time in my life. And this group we had got a recording contract from Word. We got to do a CD. I got a choral collection published at age 24, which was my very first thing in print. So that's kind of how it happened for me.
Wow. And up to date, I know it's well over 1,000, 1,600, I think. I forget what count of publications that you've had published over the years. And I guarantee you, if you go to any church library, you're going to find Mark Hayes music in your library. We have quite a collection here and have enjoyed it over the years. Music writing does present its challenges, though. And we've had, even in our church here, we've had some people that love to explore and experiment with music writing. One of the questions I want to ask, where do you start in writing? Do you start with the melody? Do you start with lyrics? Do you just come up with an overall idea? What are some of the ways when you compose that you start the process? Well,
that's a good question, Jeremy. If I'm writing a choral piece or even just a song, I personally like to start with the lyrics, because when you read a lyric, usually there's kind of an organization or form to the words. Much like when you think about a hymn, there's several verses and they all have the same number of syllables for the most part and lines. And if you look at that, then you figure out kind of what's my form of the song going to be. Is it going to be verse chorus with a bridge, kind of like a country western song or something? Or is it going to be through composed where none of the lyrics repeat themselves and each phrase is different? So you have to figure out how to make music work for that. And then I look at like key words or phrases in the lyrics and go, that might be like a rise in the melody there. And when I kind of sit down to do it, in my office at home, where my piano is a digital piano connected to my computer, I just put the lyric sheet, I type it out on the piano rack, and I sit and stare at it and go, okay, give me a melody, God, give me some idea. And also there's the parameters of what is this for? Is this for entertainment purposes, like for high school choirs or community chorus, or is it for worship or somewhere in between, or just an inspirational song? So that helps me know stylistically what I want to do with that. But I usually write the melody first. I kind of sing it, harmonize it at the piano, just improvising. And then some of that sticks, some of it doesn't. I end up notating it little by little using my music software. So
that's beautiful. And Mark, I got to say, as a church choir director of many years, one of the many reasons we love your music so much is, one, just the depth that you provide. You provide such a depth in it that you typically, the typical hymnal is a great collection of songs, right, but there typically isn't a lot of depth, second verse, same as the first kind of thing. And you provide that depth to the music, and especially that attention to the lyrics that you just described there, it marries the two together in such a beautiful way that it can be inspirational for so many to enjoy. So thank you for that. One of the songs in particular I want to lift up is a song you wrote, I think, some time ago, which was Grace.
Right. So how that happened, I, at the time, was playing the piano as a volunteer at a Baptist church in Kansas City. And it was a pretty progressive church in the way we did worship. We had contemporary worship and also did a lot of hymn singing. And it was a very singing congregation. They got involved with it. So I thought, one of my very favorite folk songs in the world is called Oh Wally Wally. It's actually, I think, a Celtic origin. And I knew it from like high school, from The Water is Wide, I Cannot Get O'er. And I thought, I wonder if I could take a hymn text and marry that to this melody. So I took Amazing Grace and had to change maybe just a word or two to to match the melody, the syllables and the notes in the melody. And we sang, and I meant it to be primarily a congregational song because we love to sing as a congregation. So I led it from the piano one Sunday morning, and it was kind of a half-hearted response to it, which I guess they were learning it, but one congregant came and said, "Why don't we sing the real or the old Amazing Grace?" And I kind of was deflated, and I thought, oh, well, try to be creative and you don't get affirmed for that. But then I thought, there is something here. So I took it home and created the choral setting that you referenced. And it has been one of my biggest selling pieces that I've ever written.
And I am so glad you stuck with that there, Mark, because it is. In fact, we've got it here on the concert you're going to be hearing, and it is such a powerful arrangement. The phrase I like to use is living tradition, that you take the traditions of whether it's hymnody or different melodies or text, and you present them in a way that brings new life, new energy, and new refreshment there. That does allow us to put that living tradition moving forward.
Probably like many of you out there, like myself, you took piano lessons when you were a child, and I've met many people that come up to me and say, "Oh, I started that and then quit because I didn't have interest or wanted to do sports or something like that." But many of you probably started out playing Für Elise by Beethoven or all kinds of classical pieces, and that was a part of my life as well. I started playing piano in the church when I was 13, and I think that's the thing that kept me wanting to play the piano, was having almost like a little concert every Sunday when you played hymns, choir anthems, offertory, and etc. So I studied piano performance at Baylor University, and I learned all of the classics there. I love playing what I just played, This Little Light of Mine, but I also like the artistry that I learned, the technique, the musicality by playing classical music. This next piece is kind of a combination of both of my loves, the love of church music and also classical. I've taken a little bit of Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven. You'll know this, I'm sure, and married that with a hymn tune called Ebenezer, which it has many texts, but the one here I'm using is "Oh, the Deep, Deep Love of Jesus." One of my favorite things is to play old gospel songs, and the next one I'm going to play is His Eye is on the Sparrow. I know that there's a certain kind of age group that really loves and knows this song, and my mom was one of those people. After retiring in Montana, the opposite of Florida, she loved cold weather, not warm weather. My parents moved back to Kansas City, where I live, and my mom was dealing with some dementia, and it turned out she had Alzheimer's, and so I was with her for the last several years of her life before she passed. So I would go to visit her at the senior living center where my parents lived, and I would play the piano. And sometimes my mom wouldn't recognize me, but if I played His Eyes on the Sparrow or a song like In the Garden, she could sing every verse. So I love that the power of music transcends our memories, sometimes the problems we have with our minds, our physical bodies, all that. It is so powerful as an instrument of healing and comfort and peace and joy. So I play this in honor of my mom, Betty Hayes. His Eye is on the Sparrow.
Now, one of the questions I want to talk about, 2020 for all of us, I can say probably for all of us, has been a challenging year. There's been so much going on with this pandemic and all the challenges in life there, and that's affected worldwide. It's affected churches, it's affected businesses, and it's affected people in the music industry. So I want to take just a moment. How has the pandemic and all these challenges of 2020 impacted you as a composer and a performer and the work that you do?
It has been quite the ride, a roller coaster ride, I would say. I think when it initially hit, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be over pretty quickly. But then the publishing companies that I write for began calling me and saying, we're going to have to cut our output for next year, so we don't need you to write any music for us or a limited amount, and we're not going to record it. And your royalty checks are probably going to be much lower. And then I was like, wow, that's kind of a slap in the face. And that's a large part of my revenue stream and just what I give myself over to as far as my time. So it's interesting, though, just several months later from that experience, I feel very positive about things. I know that the choral industry is going to take a few years to kind of get back on its feet, for choirs to feel like they can come together and sing, whether that's in a high school or a church. But I believe that it will happen. I do. And so for me, as a composer, I've still been writing choral music. I've had several commissions people have asked me to do. And I'm writing a lot more keyboard books because people can play the piano in the middle of a pandemic and not have to worry about, the things that a choir singer would have to worry about. So I doubled down on my spiritual disciplines, my meditation, my prayer, all those things that keep my mind in the right place, centered on the hope that God gives us.
Absolutely. And, when I think of that kind of experience that, when we've all walked through those challenging times, whether it's the pandemic or whatever it is going on in our life, one of the songs for me of yours that came to mind was your arrangement of It Is Well With My Soul. This was one that was written by Horatio Spafford. And if you research the story behind him, it was such a challenging time in his life. He'd literally lost his entire business. His family was out on a ship sailing for a family trip, and it sank. And he lost his daughters at sea. Yeah. And he literally penned the words to this song as he sailed over the spot where the ship went down. And even in the midst of that tragedy, he was writing the words saying, "It is well with my soul." And the power of our faith in the midst of that. And I think we're going to be including an arrangement of that as well in this concert. This was recorded some time back from our sanctuary choir. And it just provides that beauty and depth to that piece.
Yeah, I can remember playing this hymn as a child, as a teenager in church, and just that chorus that keeps going back, "It is well, it is well." It's like an affirmation. Yes. It's an affirmation of God's promise that no matter what's going on in your life, it's going to be okay, that God has good in mind for you. And so I've had the chance to arrange it many times. It was one of my very first piano solos that I arranged. Oh. I've arranged it a couple more times for piano. I've actually done 3 different choral arrangements of it in my life, one that I just finished about recently. And the one that we're going to hear on this program is probably my favorite. And I was asked, it was commissioned by a choral director such as yourself in a church. And he said, "I want you to go beauty hunting for chords and harmonies." Wow. Which is an interesting way of putting it. And he knows that I love to reharmonize hymn tunes. Yes. And I think in that arrangement, I even changed one of the melody notes to a different note because I wanted to use a certain chord underneath. And I thought, I'm going to just bend that a little bit here and do that. But I was very mindful of the drama and the passion. I, of course, knew the story of how it came to be written. Yeah. And so I tried to create that musically throughout it. And there's lots of peaks and valleys and big points and, soft endings and climactic moments. So I love it when I get to use the power of music like that to inspire people and give them hope.
That is, inspiration is such an important part of music. I always say when words fail us, there's music. And that's one of those quotes that you hear, that music can sustain us and support us in our faith tradition, in the challenges in life, and beyond. And speaking of beyond, we're hoping to get through this pandemic and all these things around us. What is your hope for church music and choral music and in the future when choirs can gather once again, when we can sing a song? And what are some of your hopes or desires as we move towards that?
Yeah, I've been thinking about just the power of music in general, and it's interesting if you look back to the Great Depression and some of the war times, a lot of the music that was written, it seems like music never dies. You can have no money or you can have millions of dollars and you still need and desire music. And so I think that church music, because it's wed to that need for us to worship, and also it's, as we were talking about earlier, Jeremy, just the idea of worship is very communal.
Yes.
And so no matter what new fancy technological ways we have of being together as a church body, we're going to need to be able to come together, and music's going to be part of the thing that connects us. So I'm still very hopeful. Even if I don't make another dime on a choral anthem, I still want choral music to flourish and thrive, and I think it will, because it's more powerful than any virus.
Absolutely.
So, and then I think also just the love we have for one another as Christians is way more powerful than any virus. So we will find a way to sing together in the pews, in the choir loft, wherever we are. And I want to be part of it.
Thank you, Mark. And I am so thankful for that because, we desire that time and day that we can gather together to sing again. And I think there will be a newfound appreciation. I think, and this is, I'd shared this before, where I think sometimes during this times in past, sometimes we can take for granted the things like we get to sing, we get to gather in a choir or in a church or have a service together. And I think there'll be a newfound energy and enthusiasm, ability to gather together and to sing and celebrate there. So looking forward to that as well. So speaking of the future, what's in the future for Mark Hayes? As you're looking ahead what's going on in your life and in your ministry and in your career that you're excited about?
Well, certainly this has caused me to slow down a bit, and I'm a type A guy. I always have something going on, and that has helped me. I'm just aware when I'm sitting at my piano on my computer creating something. It used to be like I'm on this, it's just flowing, and I got to get it down and stuff, and I'd have a crick in my neck and not pay attention to it because I got to get this down. And now I'm really relishing the time it takes me just to input music or to play it. So part of that is just slowing down. As far as things that are outside the church market, I have written or arranged the music for a Broadway-style musical called We'll Meet Again with a friend of mine who's the playwright. And it's based on a true story of a little Jewish boy in Nazi Germany that comes to America and lands in Opelika, Alabama. And it tells the story of his growing up. This is a real person named Henry Stern. He just passed away about 4 or 5 years ago. I've met his children. And so we have this incredible show we've written, and we want to do some more things like that. I'm working on a piano book that's of movie score themes, piano solos. I'm going to be doing a book of hymns that are married with an excerpt from a classical piano, some classical piano music, and putting those together for church. And I think I would love to also consider writing another kind of larger kind of classical work. I've written a Gloria and a Magnificat and a Requiem and a Te Deum, and had the chance to conduct those at wonderful places like Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center. And I'm hoping to maybe get the inspiration to do another one like that in the future.
Well, Mark, on behalf of just all the music directors and church leaders out there, I want to thank you for your willingness just to continue to write and to compose a new song, because that is so needed for us today. And I want to, on behalf of them, want to say thank you for your work and for your inspiration. The inspiration that you provide in the music helps us in the church be an inspiration to so many. And I am thankful for that. Looking forward to what's coming in years ahead, and looking forward to the rest of our concert here at Anona. So I want to take just a moment here we're going to move into our concert phase here. So again, Mark, want to say thank you for this interview time, and God bless you in your journeys here, and as we continue on in our concert for this afternoon.
Well, we've come to the conclusion of the concert here, and I want to thank you for showing up wherever you are, with whoever you're with in your home, with your family, with friends, to listen to this concert from Anona United Methodist Church. I'm just very thankful to Jeremy Harrington for inviting me. Also, it was just, I have a strong connection with one of your favorites, I'm sure, Ann Waite. We were talking about hymns the other day, and she commented how she appreciated when I arranged for piano, where there's no words involved, obviously, just the notes and the music, that I seem to communicate the idea of the text through my piano arrangement. And I do that intentionally. I want you as the listener to be able to almost sing along with me as I'm playing. So to close, I'm going to play How Great Thou Art, one of my favorite pieces, and I offer this as an expression of my love for God, also as an expression of love and hope for you. Thank you for having me.
Wasn't that an awesome concert, folks? I tell you, I could have just sat for another couple hours listening to that, but unfortunately, it's time to wrap up here, so we want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. We also want to give a special thanks to the Jack Harris Memorial Fund. They have helped sponsor our entire season this year of our virtual concert series to help make events like this happen for you. So thank you to our Jack Harris Memorial Fund. We hope this music helps to brighten your day and bring just a little inspiration and hope, not only for today, but for tomorrow as well. Now, we want to invite you to a couple things. If you've never experienced online worship at Anona, or if you have and you've just been away for a little while, we hope that you join us for our Sunday morning online worship. We have worship services, our traditional at 8:15 and 11:10 on Sunday mornings, and our contemporary service at 9:30. You can log in at live.anona.com and be a part of our worship experience there. It's just a great and powerful opportunity to stay connected. And we also want to invite you to our next concert that's coming up. And our next concert series event is our special Maundy Thursday service. This is on Thursday, April 1st at 7 p.m. We're going to have an evening of just powerful music, message talking about the upper room and Jesus in the upper room with the disciples. There'll be communion. This will be online and in person as well for some limited seating. And we hope that you can join us for that on Thursday, April 1st. Now remember, if you liked what you heard today and you want to hear more, we need your help in spreading the word. Go over to our church Facebook page or go over to our YouTube channel and make sure you like, share, and subscribe what you heard today. We need your help to spread the word so that others can enjoy moments like this as well. So like, share, and subscribe so we can spread the word. Again, my name is Jeremy Harrington. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, and we hope to see you again soon. God bless.